So my name is Zuza. I am also known as Dr. Zuzana Matousova-Done, so it's quite a full name. But usually people call me Zuza, Zu, Sue, and other names too, but I'm not going to mention them. So I'm originally from Czech Republic. I'm coming from a family where neurospiciness, neurodiversity, but neurospiciness and different abilities and capabilities, also known as disabilities, are known. So to me, that's a norm. Okay, I don't know what it feels like to be neurotypical, whatever that means. I don't know what it means to not being able to do things, because within my family, we have always tried to see where the person is. We adopted things and we adapted it. Okay. I am a registered nurse for intellectual disabilities. I studied in the UK, and it was really lovely to hear some of the strategies that are used in, what is the lady's name? Elsa's school, because we use them in intellectual disability nursing as well, in order to support people to go and see a doctor. And also we used to work as a bridge for the doctor to be able to go down to the child's or the person's level and talk to them about what's actually happening within their health, if you like. I do have PhD, yes, that's right, but it doesn't mean that I have a wealth of knowledge. And it's actually, all my knowledge is from working with people who took me on their journeys. So as an intellectual disability nurse, I used to go to people's homes and I said, right, so I have to do this something called OK health checks. And oh, pain, here you are in pain. So from 1 to 10, how does it feel? Well, what does 10 feel and what does 1 feel? Good point. Second, okay, is it stabbing? I've never been stabbed. Good point. So I actually could never complete my assessments because my clients could never relate as to what it was, and definitely ethically I was not going to go around and stab them. So my PhD was about, how people on the autistic spectrum experience pain from their perspective. So, it was really interesting insights, and I was working with professors, and this particular professor, she just had a swollen ankle when I went to see her, but to her, that was something that she could, she had control over. She could, take pills or do whatever she needed to do with it or put it in a brace. For her, it was the emotional side. So back in 2007, I've already been discovering that the emotions that people on the autistic spectrum, and mind you, back then, they had no emotions, they had no empathy, and they definitely could not sympathize. But it wasn't seen as that it is so overwhelming that you don't know what to do with it. You get so tangled in that emotion that you can't identify it. Nowadays, one of the ladies said to me, when I see a movie and people are, just got together, I cry, but I'm not sad. I'm like, yeah, you're overwhelmed. That's fine. Let's work on that. I also work in an Oakley house training center, so I work with teachers. And to me, teacher is my second parent. We co-parent because the teachers see my kids for 7 hours a day. How the kids behave there, maybe I don't see it at home and vice versa. I'm that parent who would be late to pick up the kids. I would be that parent that sometimes forgets. I would be that parent who always doesn't have the schedules together because it's so much happening and there are so many changes, and I'm not always on my phone to kind of monitor, when I'm supposed to be picking up the kids. They finish early, but they're supposed to finish 2 hours later. So I am that parent. I'm also a parent who, when there is a teacher-parent meeting, I would take my kid with me. Purely because I want the teacher to tell us what needs to be done, and I want my kid to hear it. I don't want to be the person who comes home and say, hey, listen, your teacher said, because then my kids would have millions arguments as to that's not what the teacher said. She said something completely different. I am also part of the Roxy Davis Foundation, which is adaptive surfing. We have people and children from various backgrounds, and we kind of do therapy, ocean therapy. So I'm the one who would teach. I would get in tune with the person, and then we would try with the volunteers, who are always different, to kind of adapt to the situation. So our PDAs, we play a game, right? So if the child with PDA want to surf, and sometimes they may not even get into the water, but if they want to surf, you know, they teach me, because I have no idea what I'm doing, which is true, you know. So, and it's great because they then have to show me, and then I can push them into the water, and I am the one who has the fear because I'm scared, because maybe the wave is too big. And I'm also part of the Fishhook Surfing Club, because we get a lot of children on the spectrum, or with different abilities, to join and wanting to be part of the community. And that's what I like, is the community presence. And we can, you know, and I'm orientation coach. So I am part of the team who teach the children about, you know, what would you like to do today? Let's run. Oh, okay, not run, let's walk. No, let's just do one thing. Let's do whatever you need to do in order to feel integrated. And then a member of Global Intellectual Disability Nurse Research Collaboratory, where we looking into specifically intellectual disability nursing worldwide and what we can do. Because, for example, we used to develop something called communication books, very important for the children to kind of, for people to know how the child communicates and what their communication style is. Because these days there are so many, and I'm still learning. You know, I have clients who communicate with me via GIFs or videos, and I'm just blown away, because that's something I definitely can't do. I'm also mum, I'm wife, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, and one of my biggest strengths is that I'm a good listener. And sometimes it's really difficult for me just to listen and not to say things. So in terms of health and wellness coaching, that's what I can do in South Africa, because nursing, I don't tick quite a number of boxes because they're not here. And so I was thinking about what I'm going to do, and the health and wellness coaching kind of sounded exactly where I am and where my skills are. And the common referrals I get are, my child needs to eat better. That's an overwhelming topic. My child is not sleeping. We've heard that. I need you to help him to find a job. Again, very overwhelming, right? And if you are in that position, it's actually, if you break it down into steps, you know, you need to have a good CV, you know, and what do you put in the CV if you, in your mind, don't have what is required, you know? What if you're not really good with communicating with people? They will not see your talents, because, you know, you have that conversation. So sometimes when there is some sort of interview, we kind of sometimes ask the employer, could the person maybe have an interview on WhatsApp? I also had coaching sessions just purely WhatsApps, because the person can't deal with this, right? I need him to study more. Again, huge. His social and other skills are truly bad. And I can go on, you know. I'm not moving. I need to move. That's exercise, because sometimes exercise can be a trigger word. So, and more often is from the parent's perspective. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I don't know what I'm doing. And believe me, the parents do the best. They know what they're doing. I'm anxious. I have no money, you know, to do things, which is really difficult, especially for the younger adults who want to communicate, who want to start going out, because they don't want to be behind the screens all the time, but they don't have the resources to go out because everything costs money, right? So what I'm doing is that whatever the person perceives as a barrier in their journey towards their growth, we tackle it. Whether it is how to clean the fridge, and I had that, to, finding a job, to create a website. I have no idea there, but researching, putting the information and trying just to break it down into much smaller steps. Cleaning room, when somebody tells you to clean room, it is huge. But if you start with, hey, just pick up the clothes for today, much better. Oops. So when I come to see my clients, I always also need some information. And most of you know that filling out forms can be quite a huge task, and those forms are getting bigger and bigger, right? But I want to know what your support system as a parent is. I want to know what your support system as a person that I'm working with is. And I want to know what you're doing as a person. And I want to know a lot of things. I ask a lot of questions. And it can be annoying. And clients are able to stop me at any point. I want to know your common triggers. What trigger you? Like Adam already spoke about, you were talking about driving and your daughter, having a car. Like, what are the triggers? They could be small. I have my triggers and I'm aware of them. I'm also aware that when my tolerance level is very low, I have not slept, I had very bad day, that I trigger faster. And yes, I have been on Adam's trial, but it's a process. I'm still working with it. But I also have a co-regulator. So if I need to do something really, really tough, I either have my youngest daughter with me, and then I have my meltdown sometimes would be being behind the wheel, and I just really need to scream. And she's like, oh, have you finished? I'm like, yes, thank you. It was great, Or we've got here a common friend who is also my co-regulator and her little dog. So whatever needs to happen, I always have a body double. And that's what I do for some of my clients as well. If they have to go through, I don't know, a university task, I can be their body double, not necessarily as a person, but communication, I'll let them know, hey, I'm sitting now and I'm marking or whatever I'm doing. I'm sitting behind my computer. This is the picture. Whatever you need, we can do this together, whatever they need. I want to know what are your needs, your have-tos and want-tos, and we identify what they are. Because sometimes, yes, sadly, we do need to eat, right? It's the have-to. Brushing teeth, depending who you speak to, it's a have to or want to, but at least, if it's happening once a week, it's okay. There are no dentists there, right? And I'm sure, be looking at priorities, but also as a priorities as a family. Because those of you who's got PDAs know that demands can be quite overwhelming, and everything is a demand, right? Even my voice sometimes is a demand because I have a different accent. And my husband had a conversation with a friend, and his wife is Russian. And my husband said, you know what, I don't know what it is, but when Zuzana speaks sometimes, I have 100 red flags, in my head. And it's not sometimes, what I say is not necessarily what I mean, but it's also I can't say it's a language barrier because I've been speaking English more than Czech, but sometimes the choice of words is not what I wanted to say. I want to know where you want to meet me. Do you want me to come to your house because it's your safe space? Do you want to go to the beach? Do you want to walk? Do you want to go to a coffee shop? Wherever it is, because I am gonna do we're gonna do together quite the hard part, right? Where we're doing that step as Adam was talking about. And that step is very, very anxiety provoking. So what do you need there? How much support do you need from me? So I do sometimes have parents calling me at 10 o'clock at night because their child, PDA, decided that he's going on his bicycle and visit his girlfriend. what do I do? It's like, well, you know, if you stop him, he might attack. You know, if I stop him, he attacks me. It's like, okay, whew, let's bounce ideas. Let's see what we can do, right? Communication preference, right? WhatsApp, emails, whatever it is, and schedules and plans. I actually really need schedules and plans for me, and I know that some people don't like it, but we can always adapt it and adopt it. And as you know, a lot of our children have not just autism or ADHD, but they have other issues as well. Gut issues, not sleeping, and that all kind of play a huge role. What we may see in terms of the behavior is not necessarily a true reflection. It could be a behavior that to a trigger that happened 3-4 weeks ago. You know what I mean? There can be some sort of a delayed process. So for me, I just want to know a lot of stuff, right? But I also want to know, when I speak to the person, what is their response to what they perceive as a threat, or what is their anxiety. So some of them would be joking with me. So I'm like, okay, you are a clown, great, I can deal with you. You know, let's adopt the sessions to that sort of environment or style. Some children cry. That I don't know, but I do actually, when they cry, I cry as well. So it's just, you know, very overwhelming. Some children giggle because of my accent. And it's also nervous because they don't know what to expect. And I remember yesterday my daughter had a tutor coming, and I didn't make the tea the way I normally do make it for the tutor. Oh my word, didn't I hear it? And the tutor was like, oh, so your daughter is quite vocal. I'm like, oh yeah, she wants to be a lawyer. She will be amazing, you know, but I can't compete with her. We also do some assessment, and I use Wheel of Life, right? Some of you may know it. I do have examples here, and I thought I was gonna do some exercise with you, but it's up to you, because there is another one I would love to do. But I want to know where you are at. So we're looking at things like health, weight, energy levels from your perspective on the day when I see you, right? Work and career, purpose, happiness, fun, because those are so important, right? Family life, sure. Social life and friendships, incredibly important to our kids. And to me personally as well. I need people's energy to feel energized. Some people don't need that at all. I'm a sensory seeker. I just need the lights and everything. You know, when you think of a tree, I just need everything that's happening on the top. But sometimes, like my kids, it's something that happens, you know, in the roots. And then if it's with children, small ones, I want to know who they are from their perspective as well, and what they want. You know, if they want to be astronaut, great. You know, dream big. Let's do whatever you need to do, because I can work with that. You're a Liverpool fan? Great, I need to now learn about Liverpool, right? And believe me, I'm not always that clued up. But it's important, because when I get to their level, and they can ask me questions too, and it's very authentic. Some of the questions, you know, are like, oh, you know, why are you asking so many questions? And why are you so old? It's like, thanks, you know, thank you, that's great. What do I answer? You know, I mean, aging is part of the process, right? So my goal and priorities may be different to yours. So parents tell me what they want me to work with, but the child is somewhere completely different. So I need to address that, because I need to bring them down from that sort of anxiety driven behaviors sometimes, because, you know, we're gonna be doing a lot of learning together. And I always ask the professionals, what are you doing? Can we collaborate? What are you working on? Let's do, and let's work on it. Let's do one goal, don't do 10. You know, if we're working on, like this lady was working on her health, because that was the most important, but That's not what her mum saw. Her mum wanted her to work on relationships. But she said she doesn't want to go out because A, she's not feeling comfortable and she was not well and. So I said to her, okay, so we were exploring what health means to her. And then we started developing menus. And the menus were around her sensory, right? She likes sandwiches. Okay, well, we can work with that. We can do some, balancing there from the blood sugar perspective. Then she couldn't cook. So okay, let's learn together. I'm actually there. I'm there. Let's do cooking together, and we do. And it all starts in the childhood, and the connections are important. And that's what I'm learning as well, that sometimes the children say, but my mom and my dad, they are never there. I'm like, what do you mean? They are there. Like one of the child was telling me, my mom never plays with me. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay, I'm talking to mom, and I said, look, he said you never play with him. I said, what do you mean? I am a coach in a Scouts. I'm with him all the time. I drive him everywhere. We talk. But to him, it wasn't enough. Yeah, so it's just really having those conversations as to where you want to go and what is important to your child, because it's all different. And it's also based on how much we learned from our parents, right? My parents were never involved. They kind of gave us the freedom, so we were the feral children, and we all turned up differently. I would love to have some structure in the house, like when I was growing up, but I guess there was a structure. There was school, there was meals at 6 o'clock, we were working in a farm. So somehow there was a structure. It just was never written. What is the best way to seek information? And this is my question to you. How do you seek information about anything that you are into? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We did discover encyclopedia from 16th century. It's so interesting now. That's what we are into right now. AI and ChatGPT, and believe it or not, I have a client she perceives AI as her partner because he always says what she wants to hear. It's true, right? No emotions, And I don't know if I don't want to really go down that rabbit hole, but it does actually has some sort of emotions. I'm sorry you're feeling that way, right? You want to hear it, okay?
Also, just chatting to others, others
yes,
similar or same experience.
Connections. Yeah. Yes, it was mentioned here a few times, and we do have like a few WhatsApp groups for PDA mums and dads and for autistics and dyslexics now, and they are free, right? Because sometimes, yes, it's nice to meet, but not everyone's got the means to do so. And sometimes I encourage it, well, most of the time I encourage it because the parent to parent, they can actually find out more what they can do. I have girls. I don't know what it feels like raising boys. I just feel that's a completely different species, right? And when they kick in, when the hormones kick in between 15 and 17, to differentiate what the teenage thing is like, what is the autism and what is the other things? Oh, that's another field.
The lines are blurred.
Very much so, yes. But when you have a label, quite often you just think it's that, but sometimes it's something different, because something else is going on in your life.
I was going to say with labels, it's one thing that I worry about is when you have a label, people tend to try and fit into it.
Yes, box.
And instead of just accepting that a label is a guide to help you sort out what you need to sort out, to figure out what your issues can be, and rather just following what feels good for you and all of that sort of thing.
Yes, that's right. I came to South Africa in 2013, and it was just the end of eating disorders. So everyone had eating disorder, but it was kind of transitioning into bipolar. So everyone around us was bipolar. So I was like, okay, something in the water. Then it became the ADHD. right? It was the big thing, ADHD, sorry, autism. It was autism was big thing. It was becoming ADHD. Now it's PDA. And when I spoke to some of the employers and a labor law lawyer, actually, now it's the dyslexia is the next. That's what the, what the employers are looking for, but they're looking for a superpower, because they have this imaginary, so it's the label, right? But not all the autistics have these 4D effects, It's like, when people saw, what was that movie now? Yes, all autistics are Raymans. I'm like, yeah, I wish, I would love everyone to have, they have superpowers, but sometimes they could be suppressed, So some examples from my clients' journeys is, and those for me were very powerful. I have never learned to cook. Yes?
Because with the youngsters, if you ask questions, they immediately bring it on a shutdown. You've obviously got to worry about becoming.
Yeah, so I always ask the parents, how should I dress? That's what I said. That's the information I need to know before. Where do I go? So if I need to go to their house, it's fine. I can be in his room if he lets me or she. So it's always about where to go. What if I need to build trust? So I need to go to their level. So if they're sitting on the floor, I don't mind sitting on the floor, right? Believe it or not, I've been hired as well if the cat likes me. Sometimes I need to speak to cat and work with the cat or the dog before I work with the children, right? And then specifically with PDAS, I always ask them, what is the trigger? If I ask you, is the you giving you, a red flag? Or do we speak about we? What does your label mean to you? And it's not always a fear. Anxiety. Sometimes it's the fear which brings on anxiety. It's not always the demand. So I just always work with what they perceive it as, their label as, if they know about their label, right? Because quite often, some of the other youngsters, they get annoyed because they would have somebody in the class and, it's like, I get annoyed. He always says, yeah, I'm ADHD, so he blurbs. Well, I'm autistic, and I don't blurb. I've got bipolar. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, what can we do? Do you think he might be anxious? And now we talk about somebody else. But I know that sometimes it might be their thing. So we kind of don't personalize it as much if it's something that the person feels as that's the trigger. So doing the menus or working with food and trying to balance it. Like one of the clients said, I have never learned to cook. I do not remember my parents cooking either. It's like, okay. So then it was me, asking the parents, okay, what can you cook? Because the parents sometimes don't cook. They don't have time. The world is so fast-paced. I really, really feel it's like industrial revolution on steroids, but that's just me. But sometimes it's the simple meals, can we do it together? Can we maybe see what they like? Because the children and the people, they do want to eat well. Because, there is so much information about how we're supposed to eat well. And there is so much information about our health. So theoretically, we should really be healthy, right? But practically, well, it's harsh. So we work together. Like, what do we need to do? What do you need to cook? Even if it's just, what is it that people have these days?
Noodles.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, noodles. Yeah. But you know what? Even the noodles can be nutritional. So, and some kids come with really amazing ideas as to what we're going to do. Sometimes on Thursdays, I run it's called Friendship Club. It's supposed to initially work on social skills, but the kids didn't want to. And I'm like, yeah, I hear you. Because, one of the boys came to me and said, I went to the shops and I said hello. And everyone, I'm like, yeah. So I was setting him up for failure, right? He had a meltdown there because we were talking about, when you go to a place, it's very nice to say hello. But people don't say hello these days because they are maybe on the phone or something, right? So, but I've tried. So working with foods, okay? So I sometimes say to them, okay, what do you mum want? Do you want to make tea? Yes, I would love my son to make me tea for Mother's Day, for example. So we work on that, you know. I have tasted some interesting stuff because, you know, I have to do it too. So I had a hot chocolate with cucumber. It was quite interesting. I had a sandwich, toast, because we were working on toast. I had a toast with fish paste, honey. Oh, yeah, no, look, sensory seeker, great for me. And this child was, like, he needed different flavors. What else was on it? Sure, it was quite, it was cheese, you know, because I bring the stuff and we learn to assemble, making lunches or whatever the parents want the kids to do. But yeah, I have had my fair share of interesting tastes. But, you know, sometimes, like me, even in my house, I love rich flavor. My children, my husband are more of a meat, potato, 2 types of veg. That's it. Not touching dry. Yeah, I can only eat that like once, you know. I like my soups and like what my mom used to make. And quite interestingly, and I think I spoke to Adam about it, when I started the trial, a lot of my childhood memories came through. And I just wanted to taste that stuff, you know. There were other things I would rather not taste, but you know, I went through the process, wherever it took me. My dad comes home and only yells. He does not have anything nice to say. And this was a child whose mum said, you know, his voice is always amplified. He never talks nicely. He is not having respect. He just yells. But that was a learned behavior because that's what dad does, you know. And when I spoke to dad, he was like, you know, but I have really tough days. You know, I am CEO and, you know, people just are very upset. You know, I'm upset with people. And when I come home, I just need a little bit of a space. I said, but then communicate it, you know, or go, maybe everyone's got gym membership or something. Go to the gym. Speak to your wife and say, look, I need 10 minutes. Because when you come home, the kids want to be with you. They will be on top of you. They will sometimes, you know, not always, but they do want to connect. It's just that sometimes the connection is different, you know. The connection may be that they break a glass or two. My mom sends me reminders up to 6 times a day. This is nagging, and I'm sick and tired of it. Okay, great. But that's the way how your mom communicates, but what if she doesn't do it? Well, do you do the thing? She says, no, I just, you know, I forget. I'm like, okay. So what do you want your mom to do? Because remember, when we talk about triggers, your mom trigger is that when she comes home, you don't tidy, and this is an adult, you don't tidy the bowl. You know, you leave it on the table. And mom comes home from a very rough day, and that's what she sees. Sometimes, you know, it could be overwhelming, and she wants to see a clean place, you know, whatever that means. And so that's why it's her anxiety. I always use that. It's her anxiety telling you, please, you know, I want to connect. I don't want to do whatever, have a, you know, this massive, whatever it is. I just want you to do a little thing for me. So that's sometimes also working with, you know, what's happening. I am more confident to talk to strangers than to my family. Yeah, it actually happened that sometimes I respond mentally. So, you know, like the child did say, or this was adult, he did say what he meant. You know, he did express what he needed to do, but it was in his head. He forgot to verbalize it. And it happens to us quite often, especially when you're busy, right? So sometimes I say, you know what? If you really want your parents to do something, or when your parents want to do something, can they WhatsApp you? And if they WhatsApp you, what do you need? Do you need it in codes? Do you need it in emojis? Do you need it? What do you need? And yeah, sometimes it's like, I don't know. It's like, well, we really need to think about this because, you know, we need you both to be calm and, you know, do whatever you need to do. But if you're not calm and she's not calm because something was not said, and remember, people can't see what you think. And I do that quite often as well, that I think something and I forgot to tell my family. I can see that everyone's falling asleep. So you know what? Let's do a little exercise. I would like you to choose your partner. So be in pairs. And I would like you for about 5 minutes, tell each other what you're doing this weekend. But I don't want you to use the letter N. N. N.
In the beginning of the word or
No, any of your words must not have the letter N. So no going, no going. So, no weekends, yeah. You can't say going. You can't say doing. You can't say done. Okay? I would like you to do that for 5 minutes, Robin, maybe. I can see people leaving. Okay. I know, I saw. But do you have a partner? Yeah, thank you.
I watched them. I have been asked.
No? Dean? Are you participating? Good. Good. Nice. No.
Not nice.
Okay, 2 more minutes. One more minute. Okay. Just finish your thoughts. Finish your thoughts. Okay. Right. I can see. Good. It was my voice. How was it? Some feedback. Yeah, good. You can use the word and now, right? It was a challenge, okay? How did it make you feel? Yeah? Yeah, slow? Sorry? Yeah? Nice. I have not had that one. Yes.
It was just you sort of in your own space thinking about the word that you're using, which I think comes down to often we speak about thinking about what words you're using. So I think that awareness was refreshing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also difficult to say everything you want to say.
Yeah.
Because now you can really say, sorry, you can really say the most important things.
In the words, not actually grammatically correct, right? Yes. No negatives. No and. Yes.
That's planning. You have to think ahead.
Yeah.
And I must say, I had to use 5 words just to accommodate 1 word.
Yeah. So in basic terms, you could not call spade spade. You had to describe it, right? Yeah.
I definitely found it helped me focus.
Uh-huh.
Staying focused with the conversation, which in a room like this, with lots of noise around me, I struggle with.
Yeah. Okay.
They kind of hurt.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
So it helps you to hone your listening skills. Because you, as the recipient, you also have to be alert and concentrate.
Yeah.
Not only you speaking, the person that was speaking has to concentrate, but the listener as well. So it's like both like on high alert and focus.
Yeah, we did not do the high alert exercise. I thought, we're not gonna do that one. Okay. Yes. Yes. Because you were trying to see what the person is actually doing that weekend, right? And that sometimes is really difficult to come to get the message across, and as a parent, therapist, whatever, whoever you work with, sometimes the kids just tell you one thing, but they think something completely different. So you react to something they said or don't, and it's something that they didn't mean. Happens to me quite often. Okay, what was happening to your speech? Where you always like animation. I could see no animation here. Normally it's like everywhere, pictures. You were slow, right?
Well, and obviously quite happy when it was over.
Yes. Yeah? Yeah, right? No.
We finished our part. Right?
Yes. Yes.
People, we did what we were told.
Yes.
Then you said another 2 minutes. Oh my God.
Yeah? No? Right? It happens at school sometimes, or at home as well. Like, come on, hey? The dinner, somebody was explaining that it helped them to slow down when they're having dinners. And some of the kids just want to shuffle things in and go. And then you have somebody who is such a slow eater. And you're like, oh, God, please. Just shuffle it. Can I help you? Please don't have a second helping kind of thing. Yeah, I'm glad. So could you see your client or your children sort of when you were doing this exercise? Could you kind of relate, kind of get into their shoes?
When you actually told us or asked us afterwards, then I could understand. Then I could understand.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Because quite often we ask our kids to communicate with us, to tell us, verbalize, and we tell them, okay, this is what's happening, and we help them to verbalize. But sometimes it's the behavior, that we see. And it's not because they're verbalizing, it's just that they have frustration because they may not have the words to tell you what they're actually feeling, doing, needing at the time, because maybe the school was really overwhelming or something you asked them and they didn't do it, and then there is that remorse. So just very quickly, so I don't bore you anymore, is some of the examples of implementation that the clients or the parents came up with and we kind of work with. So I always need to know, or it's always not need to know, but it's interesting to know what parenting style is running within the family, right? My kids feel I am the disciplinarian. I'm very strict, but I just, I need things to be done because then it affects me. My husband is more of a, you know what, I'm coming and you do it during the day, it's fine. Doesn't work with me, because but it doesn't matter. So really kind of understanding what is your parenting style. Some parents actually nowadays developing a parenting plan. I think it's amazing, like when you get divorced, right? Apparently there is a thing. Then they're doing actually a parenting plan where they talk about meals because it's important, right? Like for me, nutritional meal is important. Having pizza from Checkers, I can do it, but I know that I will feel ill. You know what I mean? And is the kid going to be involved in that meal? What are we doing? Religion, very often, values and beliefs of the family, sleep time. Like in my family, I want my kids to sleep at 8, but yeah, good luck to me. Devices. That's a big one, because most of our kids are gamers, right? Or that's what I see anyway. And they spend on their devices a long time or on the computer. So what I normally do is I actually bring them to their awareness, because, you can actually monitor it yourself. So I say, okay, well, on your phone, because I know there are parental apps, but believe me, your kids can hack it. I can't tell it to the parent because, confidentiality. But a lot of the kids say, yeah, no, my dad went to sleep, I went back. They can hack it. So it's just really bringing them up to the speed that how long they're spending on the devices. What are they actually looking at? Because it does make them tired. Gaming is great depending what game they play, right? And there is still that controversy there. Skills development and chores. My hubby and I had a conversation about, what we're going to do, because my kids need to learn to do some chores, because they want to live independently, and that is a huge stress for those that go to university or then have a bachelor flat. I have helped people to clean a fridge, or because, there were a lot of sensory, or clean a flat because the landlord was coming. And that was not really a pleasant hour for me. But we did it. We broke it down and we did it. And we started then for him to just do it, regularly. Conflict resolution. When you guys having a conflict, parent and parent, how do you resolve it? Because the kids actually look at you and they say, my parents argue all the time. And I'm like, okay, what are they arguing about? Do they always come to a solution afterwards? Because sometimes, airing is important, and they are at home. And, if you don't want to hear it or whatever, what can we do? What can you do? Do you fight with your sister if you have one? Respecting family values, we spoke about that. Advanced notice schedules and timetables. So some of the clients want to have everything scheduled. So, for example, I've just had we've just developed with one of my clients a schedule where he is meeting or going to be meeting with his dad once a week, and they're going to be addressing, we call it adulting, right? So SARS and, because these things are big, but you can't have a job if you don't have ID and SARS and everything if you don't know how to do your taxes. You can do your, and that's the word now, you have to guys help me, entrepreneur? Thank you, yes. If you want to be that great, they are amazing, but you need to register. There is a lot of things. Car, having a car, it's a whole another, issue as well. How do you shop? Shopping, if you don't want to go to the shops, that's okay. We can do it online, but it will take a certain amount of time. So it's like really like painting a wall. Dad said to me, he's at home gaming all day. I want him to paint a wall. I'm like, okay, great. Asking my client, can you paint a wall? He said, yeah, I Googled it. I'm like, yeah, but can you actually do it? He said, no, I'm not doing it. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I can, but I don't know what it would feel like, what it would be like. Turning things into a learning environment. So, This was very interesting. It was about choices. Child wants to buy something, but there is only a certain budget. And for our PDAs, ADHDs, they love to spend money all the time, right? That's kind of their anxiety sort of coping mechanism. And this mom said to the child, says, show me how this would work. You want this, but I only have this amount of money. Let's find a plan. What can we take away, right? Because if I have 4 apples, I can't be eating 5 all the time, because then it's not a good feeling to be in, you know. And she said it was really good because the daughter felt she didn't feel of being dismissed. She was feeling hurt, you know, and they were working through the feelings, because now you could not have that, or you had to save for it, or you had to do something for it. Learning together, you know, if you're learning a new recipe, try it together, you know. Non-negotiables and boundaries. How are you guys doing with that? How stressful is it? It is, hey? Yes, exactly. It is, because you fight with your kids all the time, right? But on the other side, they need boundaries and they need non-negotiables, right? Because life is like that. I actually had a meeting with a labor law lawyer, because one of my clients, she got a warning in a workplace, and she wanted her dad to go in and speak to the manager, you know, because she said to the manager what he's supposed to do, because he was not doing his job properly. Yeah, you know where we're going, you know. Making tasks clear and breaking down steps. One of the clients told me about, there are a lot of apps, I know, but Finch app, it actually helps developing habits. You feed an animal, you need to brush your teeth, you know, it's there, you're developing habit. You feed your animal, hey, the animal is growing, so you remember to brush your teeth. And you can do it during the day, it doesn't have to be morning and evening, right? Autonomy and independence. How are you parents feeling about that? Yeah? Can I go to the shops at 10 o'clock at night? You know, because I want to buy chocolate. That can be quite difficult. So also kind of looking at pros and cons. And collaboration. I really love working in collaboration with whoever is working with the child or the person or the family, right? To me, it is important, because if we want the child to learn, or the person or the adult, he needs to have that support network, right? Because they're gonna be falling, and as Adam said, it will be up and down. You know, today I'm great, so I will learn, but tomorrow, please don't ask me, because I don't want to get out of bed. Anyway, it's hard, but remember, teaching children to make mistakes safely supports their growth. Whatever it is you want to reword it, it's helping them to become whoever they want to become, even astronaut. We constantly compete with social media. Life is fast-paced. As parents, I feel, because I can't compete with TikTok, so my kids are not on TikTok, but you know, that are on social media, and they go and see friends and they see other things. I can't be there all the time. I can't control it. All I can say to them is I can work with them from my side. And Emma Sandler and Jonathan Haidt, maybe some of you might know them. They're brilliant. They have really good podcasts with regards to this. And there is a huge movement now to kind of look at social media and telephones and devices in the schools. Consistency is the key. It's the hardest thing ever. You know, think about it when we're trying to lose weight, right? What do you do the weekend? You say, Monday, no cakes. What do you do the weekend before? Sure, you stuff your face. Yes. Come Monday, you're like, yeah, I'll start tomorrow. I heard that so many times. Every place where we go is a learning opportunity, school, work, so maybe reword it as well. Our kids may not want to be in a school environment, but why? What is the reason for it? You know, some can't just as, you know, they need a different environment. Not all schools can cater for our kids, but they can cater for others. And believe me, teachers do have your children's interest at heart. I do work with them, and, you know, teaching is a passion. Meeting your child or loved ones where they are at. So, you know, if they want to be today 3-year-old, that's fine. And there is something that before the conference, a friend of mine sent to me. She said, "Did you see this? This generation sucks at friendship and relationship. It's not just about social media, it's about fear. Fear of being real, fear of getting hurt, fear of sticking around when things get rough. We ghost instead of talk, we swipe instead of stay, and chase validation from strangers while ignoring the people who actually loves us. We want deep connection, but run from it. We confuse chaos for passion and drama for love. We keep score, hold grudge, and avoid the hard conversations that actually builds trust. At the end of the day, we're lonely, disconnected, and wondering why nothing lasts. That's the brutal truth." So I sent this to one of my PDAs. I said, "Look, you know, what do you think about this?" And his response, "That is a brilliant summary. Couldn't have said it any better. One of the cons of growing up in my generation. The information and technology age is a double-edged sword." And so, yeah, we do have parent WhatsApp groups for PDAs, for autists, for dyslexia. We do try to connect with other professionals as well, just to really kind of keep that person who needs to grow, just to provide whatever that person needs and give them skills to do it safely. And that's me. Done. Now the hardest part. Do you have questions? Yay.
Thank you. Something that I implemented in my businesses, and I want to get your comment with regards to thanking the soft on people hard on the rules.
Okay. Explain that to me. Soft on people, hard on rules.
Soft on people, hard on rules. So, you know, you treat your staff as best you can, but that's the rule. You know you must be at work at 9. If you keep coming at 9:10, it's not you, it's the rule.
Yes. And that's actually, it works and doesn't work, especially with PDAs, right? So sometimes I would kind of say, you know, that's the rule. What do you think about the rule? Like, you know, maybe go to the manager and speak to the manager about the rule, but not bending it, but just maybe explain your stance. Because some of the people, and I know that you are employers, so some of the people do tell me that they actually are like a car that is in -30. So when they get up in the morning, they're not morning people. You know, we have morning people, we've got midday people, and we've got evening or night owls, right? So some people work very well at night. That's my case. I'm not a morning person. I actually need you, like when you're restarting the car, you know, it needs to rave for like 10 minutes and I have a set of routine that I need to do, like having my coffee and, you know, fluff around. So it just depends, because to me, it's a rule. And I always say to the people as well to say, how would you feel if the teacher calls in and says, "I'm not coming today, I don't feel like it." And we do have teachers that are PDAs. We do, you know, and or autistic. We do, ADHDers. Like, it's more and more common now. Employer, autism on autism sometimes. The miscommunication, sure, it's huge. You know, because the employer says something, but maybe the client is not auditory. It might have auditory issues. So it's not written. So the client can't see. So he forgets half of the stuff because, you know, our brains are like sieves and it's everyone. So have I answered your question?
So you can adapt. So in your case, you come to work at 10 o'clock and stay till 6.
Yes. Yeah. If that's what you can adopt, you know, adapt. Because you want your employer to give you the best. And, you know, also ask yourself a question. If you have an employee in your office and he works from 10 to 6, but maybe does work of like 2-3 hours. Whereas if that employee maybe works at home because the environment is right, he might work for 6 hours because, you know, people work differently. You know, it's these sort of questions that you kind of need to kind of negotiate and work together on.
How big is PDA? I mean, it's relatively new to me, but like it seems quite endemic. I mean, how?
Yes, it is.
Like
It's
what
like
ratios, what numbers, or?
I don't know the numbers. I
But
must
like
say I
in
don't,
the
because
spectrum, like how many people, like within the fall from preverbal to Asperger's, like how big would PDA be within that?
I actually never looked at it. Is there anyone who had those
Really?
numbers?
Okay.
Yeah. We see
Okay.
more and more high anxieties. Yeah.
What was it called before? Did it have a
You know-
name? Just difficult, or I mean,
No, but like for example, the PDA Society in the UK, they have kind of they're exploring this quite a
yes.
lot. But to me, like because it's the anxiety, right? And anxiety sometimes can be caused by various things. You actually nowadays have even autism, which is screen-induced autism. It's a thing, right? I didn't believe it, but it is a thing. One of my clients told me it's a thing. So in terms of the PDA, it's
So it's a
becoming
subset. It's a
big.
subset within autism,
but
but they
I
have
do-
other stuff as well.
But I do see PDA or extreme anxieties, whatever it is, even with ADHDs.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know how big it is,
It's-
but it is a thing now.
But is that the definition, like great anxiety on anticipating doing something or pushing up against
That's
an
why I
aversion?
always ask the client to explain
Mm.
what it is. Because my interpretation of PDA is what I see here or what I
Right.
see with my clients sometimes if
Right.
they have that. But everyone is different.
Trying to bend my head around.
Yeah, I
it,
know, I know.
Yeah.
It's like a knee-jerk reaction.
No, I get
Yes.
it. Yeah,
But it is
yeah,
growing,
yeah,
Adam.
yeah.
It is growing.
Okay.
Sorry,
No, they can go in.
No, please go, please go. You know, that's what it is.
It triggers anger wounds.
So one of the examples, I've got a friend whose son is 19, who also diagnosed with PDA and other disorders. But he explained it to his mom when he became 19, he's now 21. But he said, and I'll just explain to this lady, is that if he was going to the freezer,
Uh-huh.
So if he's going to the freezer to get ice cream and he wants to get the ice cream, but his mother says to him, go get the ice cream now.
Yeah.
His body, his brain tells him he must not do it. And even though he really wanted to have ice cream, he cannot do it. It's a fight-flight response. It's a deep-seated response to being told what to do or to being forced into something. And that's why I was also talking about the nappy toilet training, is that it's something, even a bodily function, that is forcing you to actually do those things. Your brain is going, you're not allowed to do it. You may not do it. And even though they know that they need to, they can't. It's just, it's not that they don't want to, it's that they cannot do it.
Yes, the body doesn't allow them.
Yeah.
I've heard that one as well.
No, it's just even their
as well.
own, even to themselves,
Yeah.
even though they know it's
Thirst,
something that
hunger, It's all
happens.
demand.
Yeah,
That's it has the feeling.
And especially since we live in a world where we've been pushed into that. We've been told we have to do this, we've got to do this, and this is how you must live. And it's all around us. It's a system.
And then you are told that you can't do it anymore.
Yes.
Yes. It's confusing.
Can I just speak to that as well, please?
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I have a client who was originally diagnosed with oppositional defiance disorder, which is what it was called before. And there's something very different about it when it is in a neurodivergent child, because it doesn't come with a sense of wanting to be naughty or aggressive at all. They generally want the opposite. So a big part of how they experience it is they go into dissociation because of how the nervous system reacts to being caged. It feels like that. It's as though a cage is coming and crashing down on them, and their bodies go into fight or flight to respond to that. Or they're not even their bodies, their consciousness goes into fight or flight. And then the way that their body behaves becomes such a primal reaction that usually it defies what they want in the world, which is connection. And then they spiral into a guilt process and a dissociation shame process. And then to try and get them back from there perpetuates the oppositional defiance. So a lot of the work that we're doing specifically with this boy is having compassion for what it means, as opposed to, so instead of trying to get him to do something we want, it's understanding that his sense of autonomy is so fragile that it must always be considered first, which I just think is the blessing that they're bringing into this world, because that's how I think we should be teaching everybody.
Somebody already mentioned planting ideas. That's what you do. So if you really want your PDA specifically to do something, talk to your husband or somebody else about it. It's always it has always worked so far. I mean, I'm saying always, but so far it has. Like, and and dad sometimes would say, "Oh, yeah, but I don't want to do it right now," or just role play works quite well as well. Sorry.
I just want to say something just regarding my own son, who's also PDA. We used to think that, yes, the oppositional defiance, but we used to think that it was purely behavioral until we started looking at, instead of telling him what to do in the morning and get up and, all the different things, we used to have arguments every single morning, and my eldest son would have to bear the brunt of it, and he would be late for school and all the rest of it. So what we decided to do was to do make him feel that he was in control.
In charge.
So, but yet we would give him options, not so that it was complete autonomy, but that he felt that he could still choose, even though both options were viable options. And then that lowered his anxiety, and in turn, now we are homeschooling him just to get his anxiety under control. But once his anxiety was under control, everything else seemed to be in control because he felt more in control as well. So his behavior has improved with lessened anxiety because he feels that there are less demands on him. So it's quite a...
It's a minefield.
It really is.
So what you're describing is basically low-demand parenting.
Yes.
And if you look at the PDA Society in the UK, they've actually put together quite a nice strategy. It's called Panda.
Okay.
And that actually works quite nicely, even in a school environment. And then like pictures or, like reminders, like what your child wants to do. Like for us, we try to do things in the evening because mornings can be quite stressful, especially now. The dark and it's cold and, but my children...
Choose battles.
Yes, that's one of the things. Choose your battle.
The number of times I had to fight for my son to brush his teeth, and you could tell him that he's going to get holes in his teeth. He's going to nothing.
But you can turn it. Hey, how can you turn it into a game?
Yeah, but I mean, even that, we initially did that, but then it fades away, and it's like this game is so over.
Yes.
I'm done after 6 months.
There is one game.
Ask them, would you like to brush your teeth?
It does sometimes work.
It does.
So it really is a case, I think it really is a case of really choosing your battles, because sometimes you've demanded of them, and it's not necessarily like I'm telling you to do this. It's just they perceive it as that. Mm-hmm. So for them, and it's quite individual as well. But I think when it comes to that, it's like, okay, well, do I really need them to brush their teeth today? They brushed their teeth this morning.
Yeah, when you speak to the dentist, don't speak to the dentists.
Yeah, and I'm just like, well, if you had to live, that's something else. If the dentist says to me, but he doesn't brush his teeth enough, and I'm like, well, you come in my house. You see what it's like. Because if you have to deal with it yourself, you would say differently and you would understand.
But sometimes it could be different things, hey? It could be just sensory as well. I remember with one of the kids we had to actually get, and there are a lot of OTs, so they would probably do this desensitization. But we had to get an electric toothbrush and maybe a little bit doing on the cheeks first, Like we had to really adapt, and then the toothpaste, goodness, I don't know how many toothpaste you went through to find the one that is the one, you know.
And we did the adapted with the electric toothbrush. It's novel.
Yeah.
And it was the same as, sorry, it's the same as pencils.
Yeah.
Like he loved that you could have a clutch pencil, but his teacher was like, he's not allowed to have a clutch pencil because it distracts him. That was in mainstream school. But, you know, it's one of those things. It's like, well, you know, it might distract him, but he's actually doing work.
Well, one of my clients, just very quickly, she was telling me that at school they would like to put her daughter on Ritalin, right? Because she is constantly distracted and, you know, she's just not paying attention and she's moving constantly. I'm like, okay, well, I spoke to the child and I said, look, you know, I know you've got your things, but what can we do? You know, do you need anything on your table? Because like, for example, in Finland, I love that they have things on the table. Like, you know, like if I'm this, it's like a recipe. If I feel like this, that I like choice, I can blow bubbles, like things that you can do in the class that don't disrupt, or, you know, go and maybe do a little something in a corner and then come back. You can regulate yourself. But I mean, sitting, and I know you guys demonstrated it very well, sitting for an hour or two, you know, and paying attention is difficult. But anyway, I chatted to her and I said, look, what's happening, you know? And Mum said, you know, there are a little bit of accidents down there. She's like, yeah, but you know, we only get half an hour break and I need to speak to my friends. So I don't go to the toilet. And what happens? She needs toilet. Very simple. You know, and then she needed to be reminded by the teacher. That's what I'm saying. Make friends. If you have kids in a school, make friends with the teacher. You know, because you both work on the same, and the therapist. You're all working on the same goal. It's just that sometimes, you know, the goals needs to be even more shaven. You know, you can maybe apply a little bit more at home if the person sees you as a co-regulator, or if you that person's safe space. And that's I always ask as well, who is your safe space? You know, so I can, you know, and that safe space person can then deal with the school. And if the mom sometimes says, you know, I can't, you know, and sometimes they do include me in the emails, so I pity the parent and I always say, look, I know you're angry and I know that this is happening. Please AI it first, you know, because the teacher is also a mom in the first place. You know, the teacher is not there for the money. God knows, no. You know, it's her passion. She wants to teach her child and she wants to learn. It's just that maybe she's got your child, but also she's got 20, 30 others who has similar issues, you know, and it's not just autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and, you know, everyone nowadays, when you go to educational psychologist, has to sit at the front. I mean, the classes are not big enough, you know, so who do you put in the front? And one of my clients said, I can't sit in the front, PDA, ADHD as well, because he was scared what's happening in the back. He couldn't sit, he couldn't control it. So we just put a little mirror. So he could see. So any more questions?
Do you work with clients online?
Yes, I have done that. Not my favorite thing, because I always like to see what the person needs, and we work together. So, for example, you know, they need, yeah, if it's physical, I like to show them. I like to work with. But yes, I have done it online, but the client needs to be willing and able. Right, so we always kind of, and that then takes time. Doesn't take a week. That can take longer because, you know, the PDAs or anyone actually tells you all the things they're going to do, and they tell you what they did. And then sometimes I say, did you really? No, I was just kidding. You know.